Hello and welcome to today's video. I am Katiwe, High Priestess, Word Worker, one who walks their own sacred path and journey. And this channel is all about bringing that embodied wisdom to you because it's a very specific path. It isn't just merely a spiritual path. I often find that when I'm talking with people about my journey, even to people who are spiritual, it still is something that is leading edge and something where I feel more I'm on the fringe, not in a bad way, but more in the smaller amounts of people kind of occupy the space that I occupy. And it's been an interesting journey to realize that and to acknowledge that, like, no, I'm not crazy. No, I'm not, like, I don't think that I'm special or better than anyone. But the reality is, I just occupy a smaller space. I occupy a smaller circle. And so there are codes and keys for those of us who feel the same, right? Who are in this unique experience, even in a unique experience. Um, but at the same time, we all are having a human experience, right? So we can be unique and also have so many similarities as everyone. So I say all that to say, welcome to this channel. And let's get into it. So I just kind of wanted to sit down today and talk about what it's like to really walk this path and the initiations that it takes, right? Because again, we're so like when you're an ancient soul, and let me know in the comments if you resonate with that, right? When you're an ancient soul, what you experience is initiations. It's not even really manifestation anymore. Like I kind of don't even resonate with that word as much anymore, um, because of the fact that when you are walking this path, you become initiated into a new reality, right? Into a whole new reality framework, into a whole new matrix, if you will. And matrix is a word that kind of has a negative connotation, but a matrix is simply like a construct, right? And a construct can be neutral, it can be good, it can be bad, right? So matrix in itself is not a negative word, it's just a construct. So it's like you initiate yourself, or you are initiated into a construct, a new construct. And then in that new construct, in that reality world, in that bubble, there are conditions, right? And these conditions could be seen as manifestations, but simply it's like, well, I walked into a new room, I opened the door, and hey, in this room, there are these things, right? Whereas I was in the other room, and the other room had these things in it, right? And it's like you have moved. You've moved into a new space, which has new experiences, new people, new things, right? Where you could say, oh, I've manifested this. But this is kind of how I've begun to see my journey, at least in this moment in time, right? So I'm no longer existing in the space of like, oh, I'm manifesting this. Though I do say it sometimes, but it's more so like I'm becoming a version of myself who occupies a new matrix, a new reality structure. So therefore, in that new reality structure, there are new experiences. There are different things. There's more abundance, right? There's healthier relationships. There's a body that feels and looks the way I want it to, right? There's health. There's, self-love. There's, whatever it is. And so, especially the last year and a half, that has kind of been my understanding of what I'm moving through. And manifesting got me here, right? Like I started off with wanting to manifest specifically more money because I grew up quite restricted financially. We grew up quite poor, broke, right? Like we really struggled. So I wanted to manifest a lot of money when I came into this game, so to speak. And so it's evolved from that. And now it's like, well, I'm in a new world where there is, of course, more money and there is, of course, all the other things that I want. And that's kind of the difference. It's like when you start to move in this way, when you begin to align your life with the divine plan, right? This is no longer like what I'm talking about, like creating and like reality structures. Like I'm not talking about creating from ego either, which can oftentimes be connected with manifesting, right? A lot of the time it's like manifesting is ego-based desires. I want this, I want that, I want that, right? But who's the you who is asking for it, right? Who is the you who is setting intentions, who is, affirming, who is tapping, who is meditating on this reality, meditating on this like manifestation, right? Who is that you, right? So again, it's kind of like I'm speaking from the perspective of having dissolved a lot of ego. Not that I don't have ego, but so much of it is no longer running the show, right? I've done this journey of integrating the ego. I'd say that makes more sense to me. It's integrating the ego versus like um eradicating the ego. I don't really feel connected to that side of spirituality where they say you don't have ego. No, I have ego. It's integrated. It's simply not running the show, right? So when I say desires, when I say reality constructs, when I say matrix, I'm not creating it from my ego shadow self. This is my higher self, right? This is the version of me who is not being operated by ego, but who is being operated by source, right? By God, by my soul. So that's the energy from which I speak of this. And I felt like that was important distinction to make. I've already done the, you know, my ego desires out of the way, which is what got me in this game in the first place. So it's not a bad thing. My ego led me here in a way, right? In a sense. But I began to have to integrate the ego on this journey, on this sacred path. So now when I have desires, I can trust and know that they are coming from a soul-led place. When they're coming from a soul-led place, they not just serve myself, but they also serve the collective. Like that is an inherent part of this. Plus, they are part of a divine structure and ecosystem, right? Where everything is connected. So it's like if I feel called to create a new experience where I'm like, let's say moving, right? It's like that desire, of course, serves me, serves my next steps and evolution, also serves the collective, and also is connected to all the other things that I desire, right? That my soul desires for me to experience in this human lifetime. So there's a lot to this. There's a lot to this. So I'm just kind of letting myself be the channel right now for what wants to come through. And I know that in the end it will all make sense and all tie in together because it always does. But let's just go on a little bit of a journey here together. So back to the beginning when I was talking about initiations, right? Being initiated into a new reality structure, into a new matrix. It's not often going to make sense, right? Like what we think, what our mind thinks has to happen for us to move into a new reality, which has everything else upgraded, everything else that we want in that reality structure, is almost always not what we think it's going to be. And this is why the ego piece is important to integrate and have it stepping to the side and letting the soul lead, right? The ego's job is to give is to have the ability to navigate the 3D world, right? Like that's why we have our ego. That's why we have this built in. There is a purpose to it, right? And it's a really beautiful purpose to help us navigate a 3D reality because our souls don't do that. Our souls are formless, right? They don't exist in a material plane. So we need a, a component of ourselves to do that through. And so that's why the ego comes in. However, for so many of us and how we are just born into this structure, our way we're grown up, the way we are conditioned, our ancestral energy, right? Like we are conditioned to think and feel and desire and move through the world with our ego because that's how we're going to stay safe, or that's how we're going to avoid a negative outcome, or that's how we're going to move towards a positive outcome, right? But what we don't know until we know is that the ego is finite, the ego is limited. It can't see all because that's not its job. Its job is just to see what's in front of it and navigate in that reality, right? The soul is the one connected to the oversoul, connected to God, all that is, Mother, Father, God, the Holy Spirit, who can then see everything happening across time and space, past, present, future, right? What's happened, what's happening now, what's to come. The wise aspect, the all-knowing, limitless aspect of ourselves, right? And so we have to get to a point where that is the primary energy in the primary space and consciousness that we are creating from. And when you do that, so many areas of your life align simultaneously. right? Whereas in the, I guess, the manifestation spiritual phase, right? Kind of like the earlier versions of this that I moved through myself, it's like we focus on like one thing, like things are more compartmentalized, right? And that's like, oh, well, I want to manifest money, right? So you might succeed at that and create money, but then, okay, your health isn't doing great. Okay, then now you got to go over to your health and be like, okay, I'm going to manifest better health. And then you fix that piece. And then you're like, oh, relationships, excuse me, channeling, there's energy coming through right now. Ooh, excuse me. Energy moving. And then you're like, I'm going to, now address my relationships, right? And it's this compartmentalized, like fractured kind of experience. Not that it's bad, but again, when you have surrendered to the divine will through working through your life, everything impacts everything, right? So when you work on your health, you make more money and relationships get better, right? It's like everything's interconnected. And the more that you can see that, the more you tap into that consciousness that is everything, right? That is interconnected. You begin to see that interconnectedness show up in what you are creating, in the reality structures that you are moving into. Does that make sense? So you begin to see how everything impacts everything, how we are all connected, kind of like this unity field, right? This oneness that we hear a lot of, gurus and whatever talk about, whoever talk about, like this oneness. It's like you begin to see it happening at a microcosm in your own life, how everything is connected, right? And that also extrapolates and allows you to feel and see and experience how that happens at the bigger level, right? With the collective, with humans, with the cosmic beings, with the universe, with, you begin to see, yeah, it really actually is all connected. One thing impacts everything, right? And then I began to see this, especially with my grid work, traveling to different sacred sites, different points in the earth that are important as far as kind of like acupuncture points on the earth, right? And doing energy work, activating or clearing out energy in these sacred sites. That also kind of helped me see how we are all connected because it's like, well, will you activate something in Hawaii, aka formerly Lemuria? Oh, okay, there's something happening now in Egypt I can sense as a result of the work I'm doing here. Okay, I go to Egypt. I'm in Egypt working on those grids. Oh, I can feel and sense there's something happening over here in Iraq, or there's something over here happening all the way in England. Like you feel how working on one space interacts with others instantaneously, right? And like how that extrapolates to your life and to, life itself as a whole. It begins to show you and have you actually experience this unity consciousness, this oneness that we hear about so much, right? So this is all about embodying that. But to get there, the logical mind, the ego mind has to be integrated, right? You can't have your ego running the show and then expect to have your life reflect the unity consciousness, reflect the unity field, reflect that all that is. That doesn't work, right? You're either in one reality construct or the other. And people do thrive, right, in the 3D. There are people that thrive in that, and that's where they're comfortable, and that's where they're supposed to be, and that's fine, right? But then there's you and me. If you're watching this channel, you are not that person. You are somebody who is here to tap into all that is the unity fields, right? And have your life be a microcosm of that truth, of the oneness. And then, of course, there's bigger and bigger levels that you begin to play at, but it all starts with your own individual life and what you begin to experience and how you move in that. And so there's just so many stories around that. But I just wanted to remind you that the unity field works different than the 3D consciousness, right? The 3D consciousness is more logical, it's more linear, right? One plus one equals two, A and B equals C. Whereas the unity field is like quantum, where one plus one equals 10, right? There are still laws. It isn't the Wild West. There are still laws that govern the unity field. There are divine laws. Like it isn't just, chaos. It might appear that way though. We'll get into that. It might appear like chaos, but everything is being organized with precision, right? With God's precision. But the steps it's going to take to get there are not going to make sense. They're just not. And so it's in that in between space where we can mess up that, process from unfolding naturally in our life. Like when we decide to surrender, when we're working on our shadow, when our ego is being integrated so it's not running the show, when we're listening to our soul, our higher self's guidance is coming through, our 3D reality is beginning to really mirror and speak to us in significant ways, right? Like I had a message today just come through. Every day I had messages come through. Like even in my dreams, I have messages that are just direct. Like I had a dream last night where I got guidance to change my diet in a certain way, like eating more red meat actually, right? Was like, you got to eat this. Okay, right? Like this is just direct guidance that comes in. But sometimes it's not that direct, especially when you're first on this path. The universe, the field will often communicate with you as like in symbols and emotions and things like that, like because that really is more the language of the soul. So when you first start communicating with your soul, that your soul will speak to you kind of in riddles, right? Like Gandalf, like giving you images, giving you parables, giving you stories versus like direct, okay, do this and this. So as you go on the journey, like I'm experiencing, more and more direct things come in where it's like, do this specific thing. Here it is, right? But oftentimes it's just like a story. It's a mirror. It's something that you were thinking about, and then you hear a song on the radio. It's something that you were asking a question about, and then you overhear a conversation about it in the coffee shop that answers your question, right? You really have to start paying attention to reality in a different way, right? Because oftentimes in the 3D, we pay attention to reality, like when you're in the old construct of manifesting, right? We pay attention to reality in a way of like, is my reality reflecting back to me what I want to see, right? It's kind of like this check and balance of like, oh, okay, I was manifesting more money this month. Did it come? Like, is my bank account bigger tomorrow, the next day, a week later? Right? We're checking reality kind of to prove our work energetically, which is more of a lack energy. Like, oh, did it work? Did what I do work? Is it changing? Or are things actually getting better? Or like, kind of that energy. And then when you move more into this divine construct, this unity field, this oneness, you check reality in a different way. It's like you just kind of see what's being reflected back to you, not in a way of like, is it working? You know that it's always working out for you. You know that you're always being led to the next thing. You know that God has his hand on your life over your projects because, again, you surrendered to that, right? You always are working for the divine good of all, and the divine will is working through your life personally and at a macro levels, right? So you know you're covered there. So now you can kind of trust what's happening, but you check your reality to see how God, how your soul is communicating with you, right? Because there are so many clues in your everyday life that people miss all the time as to like, here is how you stay on the path. Here is how you refine your journey. So you are on your path. So what you are creating with God through you manifests. This is the manifestation, right? It isn't like, let me like do affirmations for a week and then look into my reality and check my bank account and be like, did it work? And if it doesn't show up fast enough for our ego, then we go into doubt and lack, and it didn't work, and then God doesn't like me, and nothing works out for me, and I'm destined to be poor like my family, and all this crap, right? Like that's not the vibe. The vibe is paying attention to your reality to see what messages your reality is bringing forth as to how to either fine tune and refine your journey, or as like you're doing great, you're doing amazing, you're on the right path. Like today, I pulled a card that literally said that was like, you built the foundations, just keep walking the path. That's all you have to do. Like you're literally doing it right now, right? There was, it's like no notes, no notes, just keep doing what you're doing. And sometimes there are notes, right? I have definitely gotten, bitch slapped by God many, many times, right? But today wasn't one of those days. Today was a day of like, you're doing great, no notes, keep going. So paying attention to the signs and trusting that, right? Like right now there's a heavy energy. I'm just giving you some examples. There's a big energy, not heavy in a bad way, but heavy in a gravitas kind of way, like a heavy, like about to be materialized into matter and form. When I say heavy, it's what I mean. It's like there's this energy around visibility, around celebrity that's coming through for me personally. And I also personally don't have a car right now. I don't have a vehicle by choice. There was a vehicle, I left it behind when I left my relationship. So I don't have a vehicle right now, but I have access to a car, right? It's just not my car, but it's a nicer car than what I was driving before. So all that to say, I literally check my, Facebook notifications today, and I see that I had commented on someone's post from 5 years ago, like one of those reminder posts on Facebook came up. My comment on someone else's post from 5 years ago that talked about how they are becoming more famous and congratulating them on their new car that they bought. They bought a Porsche. And I was like, oh, that's hilarious. Like, okay, universe, right? Because I've been having these dreams about meeting celebrities. I've been pulled into conversations about celebrities. I've been just pulled into businesses owned by celebrities. Like there's a big celebrity energy around me right now, which is tied to visibility, tied to just like this new phase in my life, right? Part of the reason why I'm doing YouTube, I've always been called to it. It's always been something that has been circling my field, but it wasn't until now that it was the right time, right? It wasn't until now after I, went to Egypt, have done so much work around retrieving the parts of myself that were afraid to be visible. And this is what I mean by the initiations, how I first began this conversation. I had to go through these initiations to retrieve the parts of myself that were either traumatized in past lives by being visible, speaking truth, having myself be known, right? In whatever capacity that was. So dealing with that past karma. And also on the flip side, the power, right? The power that I had, the throat chakra, ability to command my reality, to speak directly into the hearts of people, right? To direct matter at my own will, right? Like through this command center, through the throat chakra. So it's both, right? It's like having these initiations, having these soul retrievals where I am doing the work in the shadow and in the light, and changing my relationship to power and visibility through all of these initiations, right? So that's why now is the time for me to have these YouTube videos, to have this conversation with you. It's a throat chakra activation. It's me being visible, right? I'm not writing a piece of content. I'm not simply, doing a voice note via podcast. Though I could do those things, but being on a camera is really important. It's all part of the process, right? So this has been an initiation that I've been walking. And so I keep getting these signs of like, okay, you're getting your celebrity status, whatever that looks like for me, whatever that means to my soul, like a new earth celebrity slash a new car, because that also was promised by God. It's like, okay, you walk away from this vehicle that you've had for a time and it served you, and there will be something else that replaces it, right? So it's like the two in one is what I mean. It's like interconnectedness. Like my new car that I'm going to get is connected to me being in my star power, in my celebrity status, right? And YouTube and all of that is all a part of this. Growing this channel is all a part of this. So like and subscribe. But it's all a part of this. The unity, the oneness, the field. The field begins to reorganize your life. Again, as long as your ego is less and less in the way, integrated more and more, your soul is running the show. You have committed your life, dedicated your life to the divine will flowing through you. Then life begins to reorganize itself. And this happens for me. It happens for my clients. It happens to the people in my life who are called into it, to trigger this process. Because again, we are so fractured, even in the spiritual community, around like creation. It's like I create for myself, or I create this one aspect in my life. And why do one thing at a time when you could do 20? Because the divine knows what you want. The divine knows where you're headed. And it's like, why not give you the business, the relationship, the life, the body, the house, the car? Like, let's give it all to you in one go. But the journey will not be logical. It will not be step by step because that isn't how it works in the quantum. The quantum is like, go and do this thing that probably seems unrelated to your goals, but trust the nudges, trust the intuition, and then XYZ, it all happens. Right. And I have like 1,000 stories and I'm trying to think of one right now. It's just not coming through in the moment. So I'll let that land when it comes. Sometimes I get blocked from things because there's something else coming through first. But I have 1,001 stories like that. You know, I guess the most recent thing would be this relationship that dissolved for me. You know, like I have had all these things that I wanted, right? All these manifestations, like a new computer has been on my radar for a while. A space with lots of light, like literal light coming in, lots of windows, right? I wanted, you know, someone to clean my space. I didn't want to clean. I don't enjoy cleaning. I don't want to clean, right? Eating organic has been something that God has been telling me to do, like eat more organic. I wanted to have, you know, access to more nature, right? So all these things, these are like, you know, I've listed five, six, seven things, and there's 100 more that I could list around things that I was feeling really called to do. Just moving house has been something in my field for the last year. But again, I didn't know like how it would go down or what would happen or when really, but I knew that it was coming and it kept coming up even in like my communications with my mentor who, you know, she's a very powerful seer and oracle. She was like, I keep seeing that you're going to move. And I'm like, okay. Like, I don't know how. I don't have any direct plans. Like, I had outgrown the space that I was in energetically for like a long, long time and felt kind of, you know, stifled in it energetically. But I was like, okay, let's see, you know. And then when my relationship ended, I ended up moving. Check. Ended up in a space that has light and is, you know, beautiful. Check. There's somebody who cleans this house. I don't have to clean. Like there is literally somebody who comes in and it's their job to clean his home. Check. I don't gotta scrub a toilet. I don't gotta scrub a floor. Perfect. There's organic food in this house. That's another one checked off. There are trails. There's literally a walking trail, like right outside my door. There's beautiful rivers and, you know, hiking spots within a 20-minute drive of this place. Like I'm very much immersed in nature. So do you see what I mean? It's like one move, like this big thing in my life that left my life, left my experience in a very divine way, very orchestrated. And that's another story I'll tell a different time. Obviously, today was not the day to go into that, but that in itself was orchestrated by the divine. But that having moved out of my experience brought in all of these other manifestations because I'm on a different laptop now too. This is a newer laptop that I'm literally talking to you on. You see what I mean? Like this is what begins to happen, and it wasn't logical. I didn't think to myself, "Hey, I'm going to go through this breakup, and then all of these things are going to happen at the exact same time." That was not on my radar, and actually, you know, I resisted um, leaving that relationship for a very long time until it was very clear that I couldn't anymore, until my soul was screaming too loudly at me, right? That I couldn't ignore it. So I didn't actually want that to happen for a very long time, right? But it did. This was online. This was what God wanted for me. And so the promise is here are so many other things that you've been feeling into in your fields that had to come through this pathway that also had some pain with it, also had some emotional stuff I had to work through, right? But again, I was so supported through it because it was divine. I have everything that I need, right? Like even if you're working through a hard season, even if getting to the next phase in your life comes with, you know, a form of pain, grief, anger, resistance, whatever it is, some guilt. I had a lot of guilt to work through myself. That was a big, big energetic sore spot for me personally in this recent journey. So there is pain, right? But you know, because you're being led by source, by God, that the tools you need come with that. That everything that you need comes with that. And in that, all your fear, well, most of your fear goes away. Some things activate fear more than others, right? But for me, because I'm so like embodied and I walk this path every day and it's just in my life and I've been through so many initiations, I just know how it goes, right? So even if I do have space and holding space for fear because I'm human and that's okay, I still ultimately know that I'm going to be okay and looked after and taken care of and all is well. And everything always is, right? So just understand like if you're somebody right now who is on this path and you're struggling with some logical things that want to come into your brain, right? If you're like, well, I'm getting the intuition to do this, but my brain is saying that this is the obvious path. Please choose what your intuition is saying. Please tap into your heart. Please tap into all of that. And again, this gets easier the more of this work that you do, right? Like the work that I do with people is to clear out all the distortions, right? I clear out the filters, I clear out the past life karma, I clear out the ancestral stuff that is in the way of you tapping into your truth, into your soul's coding to your true north, and your soul being the compass that continuously guides you on that path, right? It's like you already know, you already have the answers. It's just what's in the way of you receiving that, or maybe you are receiving it, but you're too afraid to act on it. You don't fully trust it, right? That's often the case with my clients. It's like they're very intuitive. They know intuition can always be deepened, of course, and it is in my world, but it's like they already to a degree know what to do. There's just resistance to doing it. There's fear, there's shame, there's a lack mindset. So they don't make the moves, right? But when you release those limitations, those blocks, you make the moves and then your life changes, right? You enter a new matrix, a new reality structure. You move through the tunnel, you move through the portal, and you pop out the other side in this new reality structure with all these different manifestations that you have been feeling into and desiring for maybe years. They begin to just start popping off, right? And again, I wasn't sitting there going, oh, I need to manifest in a new house. I wasn't like doing affirmations like, I have a new house. I wasn't doing affirmations like, I have a house cleaner. I wasn't doing affirmations like, only eat organic. I didn't do any of that. I didn't do any of that. I simply moved through the initiation, which for the last 6 months has been this dissolution of my relationship. That was the path. Right? And again, it doesn't make logical sense. It's like, well, why don't you go and make a bunch of money first? And then all this cool shit will happen. Then you'll have access to all these things. There's also a sauna here where I live now, a red light sauna. Amazing. Right? I did not affirm, I didn't visualize, I didn't do any of that stuff. I simply walked through the initiation and trusted that that was the path for me. And on the other side of it was all this new life. And this is the path. So I would love to hear in the comments what resonates with you about this story, about this, what it's like to actually move through life when you're aligning yourself with the highest divine will, when you're surrendering your ego, when you're moving through the path and like truly creating a new life for yourself with a higher power, with God. Like I want to know what resonates, what you feel, what just pinged at you. Let me know in the comments. Like this video to help boost this video to reach more people. I would really be really appreciative of that. Share it with somebody who you think would really vibe with this. Subscribe, all those things. I'm learning how to, you know, be in my YouTube era and manifesting that next level, which is happening naturally as a result of me moving through the next initiations, moving through the next doors that is held open for me by God, by limitlessness, by all that is. And following that is enough and moves you into everything you've ever wanted. And it's beautiful and it's also challenging. And that's why these videos are so key to remind you to keep the path, keep trusting, because that's the only way through. And it will not look logical. It will not look like how you think it will look. I can pretty well guarantee that. So with that, I wish you a beautiful day. Check back into this channel. There's new content coming your way. Lots of love.